These days, the right and left are playing by a separate set of rules. One side, for the most part, sticks to the facts. The other wouldn't know a fact if it hit them across the face, right? We saw firsthand this week how Republicans and their propaganda outlets will lie and push false narratives in an attempt to control what you see and hear in the news. Case in point, the right-wing firestorm surrounding Special Counsel John Durham's latest court filing. Now, Durham is supposed to be looking into the handling of the Russia investigation. And if you haven't heard much about Durham's filing from credible news sources, well, there's a reason for that. There's nothing there. But that didn't stop Republicans and their right-wing media from running wild with this story.
If there was ever any doubt that Clinton was behind the Russia hoax, that's officially gone. Durham's documents show that Hillary Clinton hired people who hacked into Trump's home and office computers before and during his presidency.
In other words, Trump was right. This isn't a conspiracy theory. His claims were true.
Here's where this is even worse than Watergate. Not only did they hack into the opposing campaign and steal material, like in the case of Watergate, but then they hacked into the office of the president of this great country.
These people need to be held accountable. And you know who really needs to be held accountable? Probably the primary co-conspirators is the mainstream media. I don't believe they were just simply duped. I think they were complicit in this.
Okay, so to be clear, those were all lies. And the lying got so bad this week that Durham himself distanced himself from the right by, how they were portraying his legal filings. On Thursday, he said he couldn't help. But, if third parties or members of the media have overstated, understated, or otherwise misinterpreted facts. Of course, the right doesn't care if they're misinterpreting facts. That's not the point. Their goal, once the headline "Clinton spies on Trump" is out there, is almost impossible to put the genie back in the bottle. The goal isn't to tell the truth or report the facts. It's to get horrendous lies out there that taint future elections. And let's not let Durham off the hook either. He knew his court filing would open the door for Trump and his allies to make wild and unfounded accusations. He's also undermining what little legitimacy his investigation has left. But that's what happens with the current GOP. It's all they have. The Republican Party, my party, doesn't have a platform anymore, doesn't have ideas to talk to the public about. What it has is misinformation. And Trump and the party, that's about all they've got. The sad part is, it might just be enough for them to take back Congress in the midterms. I've got a fantastic Saturday night panel to discuss it all. Joining me now is Jennifer Rubin. She's an MSNBC political analyst and opinion writer for The Washington Post. Hayes Brown is a columnist and editor for MSNBC Daily. And Laurie Kilmartin, she's a comedian and a former writer for Conan O'Brien. This is going to be fun. Welcome all. So Jennifer, let's start with you. Let's talk a little bit more about Durham and the point that I made a moment ago, that this is exactly what Trump and Barr wanted when Durham was appointed in the first instance. Do you think the goal that this filing, the goal of this filing was to fire up the Fox base and to get the narrative ginned up in a different direction?
Well, first of all, I'm glad we have a comedy writer on board here.
I know, right? That's why I'm looking.
Parallel laughs, isn't it? Several things. First of all, I continue to be amazed how often they go back to the well of Hillary Clinton. They still have not gotten over this woman. They cannot get past her. She lost 2 elections ago, and they are still hung up on her. They apparently have nothing else that gins up their base as much as Hillary Clinton. Second of all, I think what we saw this week is a little bit of even overreach by Fox and the rest of them. They've spun themselves themselves so badly that they essentially embarrassed John Durham, who is trying to conduct this really kind of witch hunt into looking for problems with the Russia investigation. Talk about going back in time. So I think what happens is this goes out there. They make Hillary Clinton, once again, the she-devil, and then they zoom up to her as she is giving a speech before the New York Democrats, thinking that she is going to somehow confess or, I don't know, let the cat out of the bag. And instead, she turns it into a lecture on actual malice, which is the standard for defamation, pointing her finger at the right-wing media. They quickly cut away from that scene. But she gave a terrific, rant against them. And the fact that they are not in the news business, they're in the lie business, they're in the smear business. And apparently their own voters are too lazy or too dull-witted to tell the difference.
You're right about that. And so, Hayes, it kind of reminds me, this filing by Durham reminds me a lot of the guy who appointed him, Bill Barr, Attorney General Bill Barr, and how he handled the release of the Mueller report. Y'all remember that, right? Barr got out in front of it and was able to set the narrative before the actual document hit, and we could, get a chance to read it and understand it and really see the truth of what was there. Fox went so far hard in pushing a false narrative that Clinton hacked Trump that by the time the checkers got out there on this story, was it a little bit too late? Was the narrative already set in your view?